Hey guys, what's going on? John Fibonacci here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And in this video, what we're going to do is a TradingView walkthrough. So I made an audible to the video series. I said in the last video that I would do terminology. That will be after this one. So I introduced TradingView in the last one. And so what I want to do now is walk you through the TradingView platform. So if you go to tradingview.com, make an account if you don't have one, or if you already have an account, maybe download the application like I have, because it gives you a little bit more room on the screen. All right, so if you don't have an account or TradingView, go make one and then come back to this video. But for those of you that do have TradingView, or you just want to watch it and you're ready to go, then stick around. All right, let's get right into it. So I've cleared the black trim that's usually at the top or the bottom of most of my videos, or like that jungle kind of trim, and now you're seeing the entirety of the screen, so that way you guys can see all the stuff up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the top left. Okay, obviously, you know, I'm John Fibonacci, that's who I'm logged in as, and this is my current layout, the green and red candlesticks. So what we'll start with is this at the top left here, the symbol search. So when you click on that, that will bring up obviously the search bar, and you can type in whatever you want. Like in one of the previous videos, I think it was the last one, we were looking at SPY, right? So we can look that up, SPY, here it is, the SPDR S&P 500 ETF Trust. We can click on that. That will take us over into the SPY chart. Now, obviously I have a list, so I don't have to continuously search things over and over again. I can click on SPY if I want to, or swap over to the dollar index if I want to, and whatever else I want to take a look at. I don't know why Intel's right there. Okay, so that's what the symbol search box is right up here. So starting again on the left side, we're gonna continue onto this side over here. So that first one's just the cursor. I keep mine as the cross, and you know, I have the blue circle here. That's an app that I use to present to you guys, so it's easier to follow my mouse around. I don't think you need that for your own computer. If you want to get that, it's just a third-party app. This is what I use. Mouse highlight by catnip5.com. So that's what that is. But if I take that off, you won't see the blue circle. Okay. So moving on to this one, under the lines portion. So I don't use all of the things in here. The most important ones that I use is the trend line. That's the very top one. So this is obviously how you can draw lines, and those lines, this thing will come up, and this is changeable. So if I don't like green, I want to make it blue, I can change the color. That second thing here, how many pixels, right? The thickness of it. If I want a nice thin line, I can do that. Or if I want to make it dashed, I can change it to dashed, or the dotted, whatever, whatever floats your boat. And there's all type of other stuff that you can do on here. Under the style, that's basically how we did it just a second ago, changing the colors. You can add text if you want. So say I want to write drop a like on the video, right? Then obviously I can put that in the text if that's what I want on my chart. Okay, and there's plenty of other settings. If that text is too much, you can change the size to 14, 20, whatever you want. You can make it bold or italics. It gets pretty in-depth, and I won't walk you through every single thing, but that's the trend line tool, or just the line tool. It's just called the trend line. Now, one of the greatest things about this will save you a lot of heartache. If you press and hold the shift key, all right, if you have your line, right, but then you press and hold shift, that will draw a straight line for you, or a vertical line, or a 45-degree angle. Okay, so if you're trying to, I'm trying to draw a horizontal, just press and hold shift, and it'll do that for you. All right, it's one of the best shortcut keys in my opinion. Okay, especially if you're new to this platform. Right, the other one I predominantly use is the horizontal ray. So that is going to draw a line from wherever I click all the way to the right. So no matter what, however far I move, you can see that line still goes all the way over to the right axis, which is the price levels here. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now I use that. I know it's a platform or a TradingView walkthrough video, but what I like to do is just go to NASDAQ here for just a second. Why would I use those kinds of lines? Because I'm marking up levels of liquidity. For example, like these lows here, I would want that horizontal ray on the chart. So if I'm looking at it later, or if I'm looking, say if I'm zoomed in on a smaller time frame or a smaller segment of price, and that line, right, is down here, I can, look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's the line I drew earlier from the lows. Okay, so it just takes that and extends it all the way over to the right, and that's very useful. The only other line that I would say for beginners that I think you should know is the vertical line tool. So that will draw a vertical line. So why would you need that? It's a timing thing. It's a timing tool, because remember, the right axis of the chart is the price, right? So 800, 820, 840, so on and so forth. But time is a huge factor as well. So like, quick and easy example, if I want to know the equities open, I can take that horizontal line, or excuse me, vertical line, I'm sorry, the vertical line. Okay, I can draw that at 8:30 Central Time. That's the New York Stock Exchange open. That way I can see, like, okay, where are we at, in relevance to 8:30, what time is it? Is it the AM session? Is it lunch? Is it the PM session? Whatever have you. Or say I'm trading in the PM session, I want to mark out 3 o'clock because I want to exit my trade before this time. I need to know where it's at. Okay. All right, moving on to the next one. There's a lot of stuff here. The only two that I would recommend for beginners to use is the Fibonacci retracement tool. I'm not going to show you how to use this in the video, but that is where you can do like Fibonacci retracements and stuff like that. Now, the settings that I have are a little bit different than the traditional Fibonacci levels. Yours are probably going to be like in the rainbow colors, and you're going to have like other stuff on here like the 618 level or the maybe the 786 level and stuff like that. But I've taken those off my chart, and if you want to see the levels that I pretty much use, it's not traditional fibs. So it's just 25, 50, 75, and then the 0 and 1. So it just divides whatever the range is by quarters. Now, if you don't like the default rainbow view, what you can do is come down here to use one color. You can click on that, and the color that I use is this gray that's above the second green here. Okay, so that will make everything the same color. Looks, crispy and clean, and that's the way that I want it. The only other thing I would do is the GAN box, right under GAN. It's that first one, GAN box. And it's going to be very similar to the fib tool in terms of how I'm using it. So it's just going to display wherever I draw it to, the start and the beginning, or excuse me, the beginning and the end. Okay. And it'll display for me the 0.5, which is the halfway point. Okay. And you'll learn more about this as you progress through the YouTube channel. Okay. But that is how that is for now. The next section under like the patterns and stuff, I don't use anything in here. ABCs, ABCD, Elliott waves. I don't do anything with that. So you can check it out on your own. I don't use it. Under the projection, there's a couple things that I like to use. The main two I'll go over today is the long position and the short position. Okay, so if you're a beginner or even intermediate trader and you want to look at ideas, okay, a long position, you can basically say, oh, well, there's a retracement here, so I can throw a long on that. I can put like a stop at the low, and then I can, you know, measure like a 1 to 2 RR something, and there you go. So that's kind of like a tool that represents how much you would risk, how much your reward would be, so on and so forth. And now this is a long position, and I don't have the colors the traditional way. Most of the time the reward is going to be green and maybe the risk is going to be red, right? Because like you would obviously lose money on the risk, you would make money on the gain. So traditionally it would look like that. But again, I keep mine gray. My other charts are gray too, but I'm just showing you the green and red candlesticks today. All right. Now, if you also saw what I just did, Control Z is how you can go back. So say you accidentally deleted something. You were drawing lines that you wanted to keep on there and you accidentally deleted it. Control Z will go back one move. It's kind of like Photoshop. If you're into Photoshop and you can like undo something, if you deleted it or you erase something, Control Z is how you go back one move, or you can keep pressing Control Z to keep going back and keep going back as far as you want. So that's very useful too. Okay. Now, next up is going to be the brushes. Okay, that's real easy, you know, mainly for presenters, but you know, if you want to draw circles or like Microsoft Paint kind of stuff in your charts, you can do that. Or like sometimes I'll take a highlight and, you know, I'll point something out to the stream, right? Like that. So that's mainly, again, for presenters, but you can use it. You've got arrows on here. So if you think that the market's going to go up and you want to, you know, screenshot the chart and you think, hey, you know, we can put an arrow here. You can do that. There's a couple different types of arrows as well. And the most common thing that I'm going to use is the shape, which is going to be the rectangle. Okay. Under the shapes, it's going to be the rectangle. So normally this is going to be for stuff like a mitigation or an imbalance. So I can measure it without having to draw two lines. I can just do a box instead, a rectangle instead, and then leave it like that. Now these are pretty cool because you can label them as well. They didn't used to have this, by the way, but they do now. So you could say, you know, if I wanted to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel, if I wanted that on my chart, I could put that in there, and then that will be there. Okay. Under the shapes, I don't really think anything else is too far important, but if you want to draw like circles and stuff, I guess you could do that if you wanted to. Under that is going to be the text and notes. So this is pretty cool. If you want to start labeling your charts, like say, for example, I'll give you a quick lesson too, since we're here, you know, doing a TradingView walkthrough. Like, let's say you think this is manipulation, right? And you want to just label that. You could write out manipulation. Okay. And you could put that there. That way, say you're referencing a chart later on, you could go, oh yeah, well, this was manipulation, so this might just be a retracement to go higher. And you want to remind yourself that that's what that is. You could put all type of text on your chart. Okay. And this one's pretty cool too. I think it's the call out. Yeah. So the call out's pretty great. Say you don't like the text on there. You don't think it looks good. You could delete that. You could do a call out instead. So if you want to point to that, and then you could write, it's like, well, I still think that's manipulation. I just don't like, you know, the way the text looks. So I'll just do this instead. And then you could point that out like that. So, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as the text tool, but it puts it kind of like in this little box and it points to something. So sometimes in the Discord, I will post charts that have certain things like this on it, or certain things that I'm pointing out. This is manipulation. Oh, this is something else. This is an imbalance, yada, yada, yada. And that's pretty cool for studying purposes. Okay, so again, that would be the call out. I don't really use the other ones, the comment, price labels, price notes. I don't do anything else with that. Next up is pretty much going to be the icons. I know the webcam's down there. The icons one is pretty cool. The most common one I use is this eyeball right here, because I'm putting that eyeball like under lows and above highs and stuff, and that represents liquidity. So more on that later on, but for now, that's what I use for that. I know that some people like to use the money sign instead. You know, oh, where's the money? And the money's going to be under lows and above highs and stuff, and they'll use that. It doesn't matter what you use. It's your own charts, okay? If you want to use the broom, you can throw that on there. Like if you think that's a liquidity sweep, that's what the broom is, right? Because you sweep with a broom. You could say, oh, that's the liquidity sweep. You put the broom right there and leave it at that. So it's just kind of cool extra stuff that you can do, right? There's like a poo emoji, which is kind of cool, I guess. If you think the market's bearish, you could throw up a poo emoji if you want. So that is that. One thing that I really enjoy as well is the magnet tool. I think you saw me do this earlier. If I remember the horizontal ray, if I wanted to put it right on the low of this candle, all I have to do is get close to it and the magnet will drag it to that. Like you see, if I move it, I can move it with my mouse, but as soon as I get close to the low, it'll snap to it. You see that? Or like this low over here, it'll snap to it, which is very, very useful if you're trying to get the exact low, or it'll go to the bodies as well. You know, if you're trying to mark up like the close of a candle or the high of a candle or the open, okay, any of the 4 points, basically the open, high, low, close, it'll magnet to any of them. So that's great. Now that works for everything else too. The lines, the boxes, right? Like say for example, I'm just gonna zoom in here so you guys can see it. Like say I wanted to mark out this imbalance right here. I could go, all right, let me take my rectangle tool with the magnet on. It's highlighted blue so you can see that. Make sure it's, you know, on. I could snap it to that, and then drag it over, and there you have it. I've got my imbalance marked up. So it's, you know, a lot easier to do stuff. Now what's really cool too is you can do templates, you can do presets. So for example, this is not an inverted imbalance, but if it was, I could label it like that and it makes it purple because I have it set that an inverted imbalance is purple. That's my personal preference. And then it throws on the text to INV, INB, which is short for inverted imbalance. So that's pretty nice. And again, that's not what that is. That's just an imbalance in my opinion. So I could do that. And it labels it as what? An imbalance. There you have it. Okay. Now I don't like having it say imbalance right in the middle because it's going to cover the candlestick right here. So what I did was I went into the settings and the alignment, I want it inside, but to the right. Now, if you don't like that, if you want it above it, no problem, throw it on top right, or if you want top center, that's fine too. Okay, so there's plenty of settings in here that you could mess around with. If you want, like if you don't have all that good of a vision, you want to make it much larger, there you go. Okay, you can do that, but just know that it's going to be, that's what it's going to look like no matter how much you zoom out your chart. It's still going to be the same size text. Okay, so after that, really the only other thing is if you want to take everything off, you could hide everything, and that will take off all of the watermarks. I'll show you that in a minute. That'll take off all the watermarks, all the drawings, any indicators and stuff. You could bring that back if you want to. And then the very last thing is the remove drawings, remove indicators, or remove everything. Now, say I want to take off all the drawings, but I don't want to take my indicators off. I can just remove the drawings and that deletes all the drawings. Okay. And that's pretty much the left side. Okay. Now we can go up to the top here and we'll go through that. Remember earlier I said this is the symbol search. You type up whatever you want. the next thing up here, these right here, the 1, 2, 5, 15, 1H, D, W, M, and so on, that's the time frame. So this is a 1 minute chart. If I click the 5, right, that'll swap over to a 5 minute chart. If I want a bigger perspective, I want to look at the daily time frame, okay, then that will give me where each candlestick represents a day. Now, if you're in here screwing around and you warp the chart and it looks all like this, if you highlight down here, you see how these buttons come up? This right here is a reset chart view, and that will reset the chart. So that's pretty helpful. Or if you want to move to the left or to the right, you can do that. I think it's just easier to use the scroll on the mouse, which will zoom in or zoom out. Or if you want to scrunch the chart up, you can just take the price. See how my mouse is over the price level here? The price is here. I can drag that if I want to flatten it, or the time, I could flatten it like that too. Okay. Or I could click and drag to move the chart like this. So when I'm on stream, you'll see me do this stuff really fast. I'll be like, oh yeah, you remember the 5 minute, you know, we were looking at that yesterday. I'll scroll out, move it over, zoom in, and I'll be really, really fast because I do this all day, every day. So don't get lost in the sauce, but that's how you do that. Okay, so there's all of your time frames. You can add or subtract time frames if you want. There's tick charts. You could go down sub-minute time frames. I wouldn't do that if you're in your first couple of years. I wouldn't do that. But all the minutes are here, or you could even add some if you, there is an add like your own time frame. Okay, now I would not do this either, but say you want a 4 minute time frame, you could add that, and then you could have a 4 minute chart. Okay, now I think that's pretty absurd, so I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete the, I guess I can't delete the 3 minute because it's not custom, but, or it's not, yeah, whatever. When you click on the star here, that's like your favorites. I'm pretty sure that adds it up here, so that way you don't have to, you know, come in here and click on stuff and take a long way to do it. So there's that. Moving on, these up here are the different types of charts. So we're on candlestick charts right now. If I wanted to swap over to a line chart, we could do that. It'll post a line chart. Or if I wanted a, I don't really use anything else besides candlesticks and lines. Every once in a while, I'll pull up a bar chart, but it's harder to look at. It gives you the same information as candlesticks, but it's easier to look at actual candles versus the bars. It's, you have to really focus in on that, and I don't like that. Okay, but yeah, everything else I don't use, like Renko and stuff. No, I don't use this stuff. I mean, it looks pretty cool, but I don't use it, and I don't need it. So that's what I'm going to stick with right here. Next up is going to be indicators. So when you click on that, you can search up whatever indicators that you want. Now, some of you might have this question. So before you send me a DM or before you ask my comment section, these up here, time, price, context, and that quote down here from Epictetus, it's not things that upset us, it's our judgments about things. That is an indicator. Now, it's a indicator by TradingView. So what you can do is search up watermark, or you could just type in water, and that comes up here. And you'll see this little EP next to it, which is editor's picks. So when you click on that, that will add that to your chart. And it's, I'll take off my webcam for a second, because that's where it is down here at the bottom left right here. You see how it says TradingView, and it's like changing colors and stuff. You can click on that and you can make your own custom watermark. So that's what I did. That's, you know, these are, I designed these this way. So if I don't want it at the bottom left, I want it at the bottom right instead. I could do bottom right. That throws it to the bottom right of my chart. Now that's a little small to see, you know, if you want to make it larger, you can. It increases the text. If you don't like that blue box, if you don't like that, you can just change the opacity to 0. That pretty much gets rid of the box. Okay. Now the text is white by default. I kind of have a yellowish background, so if I can't see that, I'll change the text, make it black, and the opacity all the way, so that way I can actually see what's going on. Okay, now I'm going to delete that because I don't want that on my chart, but I thought that was kind of cool to show you guys. And then, you know, obviously the ones that I have, time, price, context, and the quote, I did all that manually, and you can copy that if you want, or you can put your own stuff on there. Okay, moving on a little bit more to the right, I'm going to skip like the bar replay and stuff. You can go mess with that. I don't use it. You can have different layouts if you want. So like this is the green and red that I have. Now the normal one that I have is called calm. So what I'll do is I'll actually swap over to that, and that changes to this particular setting, which is what? It's gray with the sort of white and darker gray candlesticks, because that's the type of charts that I like to look at. So it's a little bit easier on the eyes. You're not cooking yourself with super bright screens, like with white backgrounds and stuff like that. So this is a little bit easier, and it's kind of relaxing. So it was inspired by somebody on Twitter. I don't remember who it was. I tried to give them credit, but I simply just don't remember who it was. They had a very similar chart to this, and I liked it, and I kind of made it my own, but this is what that looks like. So I have my own watermarks on here. Again, like time, price, context. I got a couple more on here. For example, like that Epictetus quote can go back down there. Okay. And the very last thing is just going to be the chart settings. Okay. So like, say for example, you like the green and red candlesticks. You may not like the gray. Oh, John, the gray is boring. Go back to the green and red. Well, the chart settings, you could do that yourself. So you go under chart settings, you can go over to the symbol, and then right in here, you can change the colors. Okay, so these are the colors that I have, where it's the white with a 90% opacity on the up close candles. The down close candles is going to be that second green, the gray above the second green with like a 80% opacity. And then the borders and wicks are all the same color. It's going to be the gray above the blue at 100% opacity. Okay. But like say I wanted to make blue wicks for whatever reason. You see how swapping that to blue makes the wicks blue on the up close candles? Okay. Or the down close candles, I wanted the wicks to be red. That's what that does. Okay. Now I'm going to cancel all that because that looks horrendous, but that's how you do that. All right. The canvas, that's going to be like your background and stuff. So the background that I have currently is the white or slightly gray above the orange here. Okay. The grid lines, there's no vertical lines, but there's very shy horizontal lines. And that is going to be the gray above this green at a 14% opacity. That's just how I have it. This is a pretty good idea too, the crosshair. So you, on your default trading view, you're probably going to have a super disgusting crosshair that is going to be bulky and very annoying like this. That's how I got rid of mine. You just throw on the opacity to nothing, and that will get rid of that. I did have a question on that the other day, so I will throw that in there as well. Okay, so you're more than welcome to go through all the settings. I think the default charts also have like the watermark in the back. If you want that, you can put that on your chart. So whatever symbol that you have will show up in the background. Like this is NQ, for example. So that's going to show up here. If I swap over to ES, for example, that will change the watermark to where it says ES. 5-minute chart, that's what it is. This is the September contract, right? Or if I switch to dollar index, it will show you dollar. So I don't care for that. So I uncheck it. That way I don't see it. And if you want the other settings I have, the scale text is 14, some gray, the gray above the blue, gray above the blue, so on and so forth. Okay. Outside of that, I guess the last thing I can do is the list, right? So if you want to make your own list, you can click this hamburger menu over here. And if you want to add something, you can just add the symbol, type in what you want. If I wanted to add, say, the Google stock, for example, I can search up Google. It's that first one. And then I can add to watch list. And that puts it down here. Okay. Now say Google, let's say Google was an index ETF. It's not, but let's say it was. I could say, okay, I'm gonna take that and then drag it up here to put it under the index ETFs. Okay. Now say it's not an index ETF, so I don't want it there, or let's say I don't even want it on this list. I can just delete it. There's a small trash can button at the right here, and that will take it off the chart. Okay. And that's pretty much what that looks like. So if I wanted to go full screen, there's a button up here where I can press Shift F, and that will now go full screen, which is pretty cool. If you want a little bit more chart room, that's not bad, but I like having all of the other stuff. I'm going to press Escape on my keyboard to bring it back to regular, because I like being able to have all the drawing tools, and then obviously my watch list and stuff. I want to have that here instead of like going back and forth full screen, this mode, you know, back and forth. I don't want to do that. Okay. And that, I believe, is pretty much most of it. That covers just about everything. So there you have it. All right. The description is up here. We went over the lines, a lot of the drawing tools, the time frames, some of the indicators, and all that basic stuff for TradingView. All right. So with that being said, hopefully you guys got some value. If you did, I would greatly appreciate if you dropped a like. That would greatly be appreciated. And if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I would appreciate that too. All right. So with that, thanks for being here. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one.